Good morning, good morning. Ooh, I can see clear. It's a little dirty. There's a little dirt on there. Welcome to the Daily Dose. Happy Monday to you. Mark Avens here, creator of the Daily Dose. We're in 100-something episodes. I think I'm done counting. We're just going to do this. It's ongoing. We got a little storms overhead. Hopefully it won't rain on us. Good morning to you. I'm excited. Mondays are one of my favorite days of the week, and I hope they're one of your favorite days too. Heck, at this time in my life, I'm just happy to be alive, grateful to get up and have another day to make a difference in this world and in my life. So listen, we're going to get talking about who's leading you through the storms of life. I know it's pretty deep, right? And it might not be that deep. If you checked out earlier, I was down on the beach. There was no sunrise this morning. There was a, so to speak, storm. I didn't listen to any of the news. I just kind of paid attention to the winds. I didn't get freaking out. I didn't take all the bread off the shelves. I didn't buy thousands of gallons of water and make sure I had 40 flashlights, right? I didn't fill up my gas tank. I honestly did not prep at all. But then again, I've been here for 18 years. I've been dealing with that. But there are storms out there, right? And maybe you're not going through a literal storm, a physical, I say a storm in your weather forecast. But maybe your forecast this week is that there's storms. Maybe you've been stuck in a storm. Oh, it is windy. This is good timing. You notice the cicadas aren't so loud. I think they're taking cover. But it's a little windy out there. You can see, right? We're pretty close to the beach, and there's definitely a little bit of wind. Nothing crazy. Waves are pretty big, but they're not surfable, so they're not really that fun. But anyway, my question to you this morning as you get started into really the first full week of August is, who's leading you through and calming your storm? Who's helping to lead you through the storm of life? And maybe your storm is big. Maybe you've gone through a storm. Maybe you are on like a really awesome place and you're not in any storm right now. And this message probably isn't for you if that's the case. But if you feel like you've been in a storm, I think it's safe to say the majority of us have been in a storm or feel like we're going through a storm right now, whether it's related to your job, whether it's your relationships, maybe your friends. You don't have as many friends now because you have differences in opinions and politics and all that blah, blah, blah. Or maybe it's in your children wondering whether or not they're going back to school. I have 2 high school students, and of course that's all up in the air. Who knows what's to come. So there's lots of storms, right? It's safe to say, chances are you're probably in a storm. And with that, I wanted to ask, who's calming your storm? I read the script. I actually posted the scripture in my early, and I'll just share this with you because I think it's really pretty awesome, because it's actually one that I feel I can relate with. And I hope if you haven't read the scripture, it's a pretty awesome one. It's in Luke, and there's other places in the Bible talks about the storm. And I'm just going to read it real quick, real quick. And then I'll go there. I shouldn't say real quick, but this is in Luke chapter 8, verse 22. One day Jesus said to his disciples, "Let us go over to the other side of the lake." So again, let us go over to the other side of the lake. So that was a command to him and his disciples saying, hey, we want to go over to the other side of the lake. This is where we need to go, right? So first off, sometimes there's an obedience and understanding God has a path for your life, but it first takes in listening to what his path is. If he's saying go, you need to go. But then there's storms, right? Because I can tell you, when I started to learn about faith and understanding a walk with the Lord and understanding what that relationship is like, I understand it took me walking. It didn't take me standing still and staying stuck and being in one spot. Even though I'm sitting right now, most of my days are not sitting still. And so anyway, one day Jesus said to his disciples, let us go over to the other side of the lake. So they got in the boat and set out, right? They listened. They obeyed. The disciples have been walking with him for a while, and they said, yeah, let's go. As they sailed, he fell asleep. A squall came, right? You know what a squall is? A storm, kind of like what we have out here. Now, mind you, this is in the Sea of Galilee, was a lake, but according to what I've heard, and I haven't seen it, I've seen big waves out here. I've seen 20-foot waves, but they say even the Sea of Galilee can get big waves up to 20 feet, so forth. As they sailed, he fell asleep. And then a squall, a storm, big storm came down to the lake, so that the boat was being swamped, and they were in great danger. Disciples went and woke him up and said, hey, and they said, Master, like, hey, what's up, bro? Hey, we're going to drown here. He got up and rebuked the wind, and raging waters and storms subsided, and all was calm. And then he said after this, verse 25, where is your faith? Sorry, there's like an ant crawling on my leg. Where is your faith? He asked the disciples, where is your faith? And it's interesting. Where is your faith? He's asking that question. In fear and amazement, they asked one another, who is this? He commands even the winds and the water, and they obeyed him. He basically called the winds to stop. And I can just tell you firsthand, I don't know what storm is going on in your life. And I don't know how hard it is right now. Maybe your struggles in dealing with the world, dealing with your job, dealing with relationships, maybe dealing with your health. And that's what I want to tie it into, because I know a lot of people's health are struggling right now. they're in the storm of their life related to the health. Now, maybe it be psychological, maybe it be physical, maybe it's emotional. There's lots of things going on that could be causing your health to go kind of downhill in a downward spiral. Maybe it was in a bad place before this whole lockdown and pandemic and all that, but maybe now it's even magnified more because you've been kind of just isolated, stuck inside, looking at the news, all those types of things that are easy to bring you down. So with that, if you look back, I hope I didn't remove it because there's a really interesting part before that. But when you're caught in the storms of life, it's easy to think that God has lost control, especially, if you don't have faith. It's just easy to get lost and out of control, right? But even for those who have faith, if you are a believer, if you believe in God and have that relationship, it doesn't mean that we sometimes feel like, God, are you in control? Like we get caught we're in the storm, and it's like, is he really in control of what's going on here? And sometimes we feel we lost control, and we're at the mercy of the storm, right? Like we're at the mercy of maybe the storm or what we're told to do, what we're told to not to do. And if you think back in the scripture, which to me is very powerful, it helps me understand that Jesus has it. He's got it in control. He controls the history of the world and our own destinies, right? Like he has at the end of the day, he has that control. And just as Jesus calmed the waves, he can calm whatever. I wrote some of this stuff down so I don't forget. He can also calm whatever storms you face. Now, think of this. Think of the storm maybe you've gone through before, and if you have faith, I can think back for myself more than a handful of times in the last 10, 11 years that I've been walking in faith with the Lord and letting him guide my steps the best I can. It's not easy, it's not perfect, but it definitely is in the direction that he wants me to go in. And it's not easy, it's hard. There's lots of storms. I've had many storms. You've heard of some of them. You've heard them with my son, you've heard them with my mom. Maybe you've heard them, maybe you haven't yet. You will hear about those. And there's a purpose of us going through storms, not just that we can endure that pain because it's hard, but it also can help build our strength and our faith and trust in God that he has something greater waiting for you after. And what's really amazing, I think, of the storms that I've gone through already in life, and I'm not talking about like storms, ocean storms and big hurricanes and things like that. I'm talking about like life storms. Is interesting that I feel God is using those storms to build our strength and our faith towards him, as well as to share it with others. Because what's really, really cool in scripture, in just this in Luke, just beforehand, in verse 16, just a few verses up above, he says, and this is Jesus talking, he says, no one lights a lamp and hides it in a clay jar or puts it under a bed. Instead, they put it on a stand so that those who come in can see the light. For there is nothing hidden that will not be disclosed, and nothing concealed that will not be known or brought out into the open. Therefore, consider carefully how you listen. Whoever has been given more, whoever has will be given more. Whoever does not have, even when they think they have, will be taken from them. So it's just interesting that I've learned in time is why I'm open about my faith is he doesn't want us to keep it under the bed. He doesn't want us to keep our struggles and our storms. I have lots of storms. I'm open. I shared one the other day with my wife. You can go back and look. It was a Friday episode, I believe. I think it was episode 124. Go back and check it out. I was on my bike. I shared a story. It was a vulnerable story. And again, it was nothing. You probably have way harder stories and storms. You may be going through a harder storm right now. But I have a feeling if you believe in God and you have that faith and you're pursuing them, he is going to move in the direction of allowing you to use that down the road to help others. And that's part of that, not hiding it under a bed or under a basket, right? Keeping that lamp nice and bright so those can see. So let me just ask you this. Who is leading you? Now listen, I'm going to relate this to health and fitness because it's who I am. It's what I do. Not who I am. Whose I am is I'm the Lord. But I would say is what I do for a living. Hopefully it doesn't start downpouring on me. That would be actually really appropriate. Is who's leading you? Now, you may not have faith, but there's lots of people in your life that are probably leading you. Maybe you have a boss that's leading you. Maybe you're in a relationship and you're helping lead each other. Maybe you have parents that are helping to lead you if you're younger. Maybe it's, there's people you look up to. Maybe you have spiritual mentors. You have a pastor. You have, those in your world, in your life are helping to lead you. Now, I hope one of two things is that either they're leading you in a positive, encouraging direction, or you're leaving that kind of leadership because that's not the kind of leadership that you need in your life, meaning the other direction. If they're pulling you down, if they're dragging you down, if they're discouraging you, if they're not giving you hope, if they're just causing you to look at all the dark doom and gloom in this world, that's not the kind of leadership you need right now. And I'm not talking, there's no politics here. This is none of the thing, anything related. In fact, if you start posting stuff politics, I'm just gonna just kind of kindly remove you off of my feed. Again, because I don't have the time for that. This is interesting. Here's some wind coming. You hear that? Woo, that's good. The devil, he likes to try to get to me. Hold on a minute here. We got some wind coming through. Oh, it's not gonna, hold on a second. I gotta just crinkle this. Let me close this up. So anyway, let's get back to this real quick. And I'll make sure, maybe saying, finish it up, Mark, finish it up. You like to talk. Yes. But I want to encourage you, it is Monday. Whatever happened in the past is the past, right? You might have been in a storm for the last several weeks, several months. And I would say is, think of the disciples who knew Jesus, who knew he did miracles, he showed them, and they were still afraid. So the one thing that's reassuring to me is knowing that it's okay to still be a little bit afraid. It's not really healthy to stay there, because that fear will take you further and further away from having faith, if that makes sense. So my question is, who's leading you? You want God to lead you? I think that's an awesome, awesome move. If you have no idea what it looks like, well, that's part of being human. I didn't know what that looked like either, until I actually looked at those who are leaning in on God and their faith and their walk with Him and saying, that's attractive. I don't understand how they're going through what they're going through and having faith in what they're going through, but they're doing it. And there was an attractiveness to there, because it was not relying on my own efforts. And it was a lot harder in thinking of even coming up short on my own efforts, realizing that even if you come up short, God still got you. He's got a better path and a better plan for your life. So back to this, let's relate this to now on your pursuit to you being as healthy and fit as you can. Because here's the thing, while I have strong faith, I also believe you need to have a healthy you have to have a healthy relationship with yourself and your body in your physical sense, and being the best that you can, not just to be fit and to have six-pack abs and to fit into your skinny jeans. It's way beyond that. It's so that you can do the best that you can. And if you're a believer, that you can do the best you can, being the healthiest you can on that pursuit. And sometimes that requires leadership, right? Because chances are, if you're sitting and overweight, if you're on meds, if you're pre-diabetic, if you have no self-confidence, if you are on the verge of giving up, if you have people that are pulling you down in your world, there may be a change in leadership that you need. Maybe you don't have any leadership. Maybe it's time right now that you actually get some leadership in your life. Now, here's the interesting thing. God said, well, okay, Mark, I'm going to lead you down a path of health and fitness, and then I'm going to show you who I am and how much I love you, and then I want you to go share both of those things with others. So my question is to you, if you have faith, do you have somebody that's leading you in your health to help get you on the right path? If not, you might want to look into this guy right here. Again, I'm not necessarily the right fit for anyone. In fact, I'm not messing around with people. I want people to have the best life that they can have and pursue the best health. And it's not perfect. It's just moving in a direction that you actually care and you give a damn about your health. That you're not continuing going that other direction. It's easy to go down the direction of doom and gloom and despair, and then try to drown your sorrows in food or in booze or in self-pity or in excuses, or in years of just continuing to struggle. It makes my heart, it hurts when I see people who continue to struggle going down that wrong path. And maybe it's a combination of having that faith and understanding God's going to get me through the storm of being unhealthy, and maybe He's going to put somebody like Mark into my life who's going to help me direct my health back on a healthier path. And I don't know if that's for you. If it is, you need to send me a little message today, because it's August. We're going into, what is this? August, September, October. We have 5 more months of the year. I have to count them out. I don't know why. We have 5 more months of this year. 2020 is going to be gone. And you can say, oh, well, 2020 is the worst year ever. It's gone. I've done this and I've that. Or you can make the next 5 months the best ever. You can go through the storm. You can say, you know what? Jesus is asleep, but He woke up and He rebuked the wind, and He's calming my storm, and He's given me clarity, and He's given me focus on what I need to do to take care of my life and my health. He's given me another day to breathe. And as long as He's given me another day to breathe, I'm not going to waste another day of His breath in my lungs. And you know what? I don't want you to waste that either, because time is too precious. It's too short. It's too temporary. Like, well, that's why I don't care. It's too temporary. Why should I care about my health? I'm going to die someday. Fine. If that's where you're at, by all means, head on that direction. Just go ahead, head on that direction. But if you know that you're not at your maximal potential, if you know that you have there's a better direction. You know it takes going through the storm. You remember what I said in the beginning of this? If you're a believer, what did God say? What did Jesus say in the beginning of that verse 22? He said, let's go over to the other side of the lake. He didn't say, let's just stay in this lake with the storm, right? He didn't say, let's just stay here. Let's just sit in the middle of the lake and let all the storms come by and smack us around and beat us up more and more and more. No, before the storm came, he said to his disciples, he said, let's go over to the other side of the lake. You know what that is? It's called action. You see, the Lord requires action. When you want to get healthy, kind of like when you want to get healthy, guess what? It requires action. Your health does not just get healthier on its own. It requires action. Just as faith is in regards to faith, it requires action. You can just have belief in God, but there's an action step that's involved. Like you have to move closer. There's a relationship to be had. It requires you believing and trusting in him enough to go, right? I don't know what that looks like for you in your path, but I can tell you with regards to your health, if you want to get on a better path, on a healthier path, it's requiring you to go. I'm saying now, I'm not Jesus, I'm not God, I'm not claiming to be any of those things. I'm a believer, I'm a Christian man, 47-year-old dad, husband, spouse, whatever, parent, I'm a child of God. And I'm saying, if you want to get healthier, it's going to require you to go through some storms. It's going to require you to go to the other side of the lake, whatever that lake on the other side looks like for you. And if you're going to stay stuck on the shore on the other side, afraid to get in the boat, first off, you're going to stay on the shore and you're never going to know how good it could be on the other side. You want to stay in the storm, again, think about that. The storm may calm down a little bit. Maybe you'll be able to, get away with it. And then guess what? Another storm's going to come, just like every season we have. There's probably going to be 3, 4, 5 hurricanes that come sweeping by here. It's pretty much without fail, year in and year out. Well, what do? We prepare for the storm. And you know what? We get through the storm what we need to do. And the other thing that carries us through storms, big storms like this isn't such a big storm, but bigger storms in life, at least for believers, is my faith and trust that God's going to help and walk me through the storm. Like, that's a belief. It isn't like carelessness. It isn't like I don't, I'm not being careful about my family and all that. No, it's believing that Jesus is going to carry me through the storms, whether it be literal storms or the ones that are in everyone's lives and they come up. And that's all I have to say. Listen, I'm passionate about 2 things. Well, lots of things I'm passionate about, but 2 things I'm talking about right now. Passionate in Jesus, passionate about him. My life is going to be completely transformed. And I don't know if you've been in that direction, and maybe you're just starting to realize that, holy cow, this amazing journey in this path of being a Christian is really, really hard, but it's really, really awesome. And I would say the other thing is being healthy and fit is really, really hard, but it's really, really awesome. Those 2 things together, you can be potentially unstoppable in your life. Unstoppable. Now what? Hey, I'm not to say that another storm is not going to come up in my life. Absolutely, 100%. Storms are there. They're going to show up. But to be resilient, to help get through the storm, way beyond my own efforts, way beyond how many push-ups I can do or how much weight I can lift over my head, is having faith and trust in the Lord who's going to carry me, and he's going to carry you. All you got to do is let him carry you through the storms. And why not, while he's carrying you the storms, get your body and your health on the best path it can potentially be in. That's all I have of the Daily Dose, 8:25. It's around 20 minutes if you haven't been on here before. Now, I hope this message found you well, and if it did, if you're inspired, I'm getting messages sent in, and I just want to say thank you. You're inspiring me. I don't know where it comes from. I get these messages from the Lord, and maybe it's because I'm just saying, okay, it's time to go. And right now, it's about ready to go, because the storms are the sky is about ready to open up. You see the rain coming down. It's starting to open up. But I would say there's nothing magical about what I have. There's just truth behind it. And the reason why there's truth behind it is because I feel God is putting this word in me to share with you. He doesn't want me to keep it under a bed or under a basket. There's a light to be shined. And here, as Christians, you have that light to be shined as well. It's easy to cast darkness. It's easy to cast your opinions and your anxieties and fear. I'm staying here. I don't care. It's going to be wet. It's easy to cast it's easy to look down on other people. It's so much easier. The devil's trying to attack, especially if you're strong. He's trying to attack you. He's trying to pull you down because he knows when you have faith and you're leaning in on the Lord, he knows you're powerful. And you know what? He doesn't like that. Those of you that don't have faith and that you're just worry, and you're upset and angry, it's easy for him because he knows you. He knows the direction you're going in. It's not a good direction, I can tell you that, because I've been down that direction in the past. But you turn your eyes towards Jesus, you turn your faith in that direction, you get on a healthier path spiritually, you get on a healthier path physically, and you'll be able to weather any storm, any storm. Speaking of that, I don't want to have to go change. That's it. Take care. God bless. I hope you have a beautiful day.